Good morning, everyone out there. Welcome to 21st Century Leadership. I'm going to call this Advanced Leadership. I think everyone that's going to be listening today is a leader whether they know it or not. Same thing that I always have told my grandkids and my children, that everyone is a role model, whether you like it or not. I've seen professional basketball players, football players, whatever, and some of them do some pretty bad things. And they say, well, I'm not a role model. Well, everybody's a role model. Everybody's a leader. If you're married, you're a leader. If you're a single person, you're a leader. You're surely leading somebody. And so we're going to talk about what really makes a great leader today. And I'm going to be speaking mostly out of a great book. It's called Doing Business by the Good Book, the Bible, okay? And it's not really got chapters. It's got lessons. There's actually 52 lessons in this book on success straight from the Bible. So I highly recommend this book. It's written by David L. Stewart. We're going to give this book away somehow today. It's awesome. So the Bible is an awesome book, and if you'll notice that sometimes when you go into leaders' offices, they have the Bible right there on their desk. It is the reference book for them as they lead. And I think that's really important. I've always had in the last 8 years as a state representative, one of the books I have on my desk every day is the Bible. And I've done that for 42 years as family pharmacy. When I owned my 26 stores, I always use that Bible as my reference and my guide. To just give you a little bit of background about myself, going back to 1977, when my wife and I opened up our first store, our first pharmacy in Ozark, Missouri, we filled 12 prescriptions that first day. Can't stay in business filling 12 prescriptions, okay? And over time, I want to share a God-led miracle story. We ended up, after 42 years, filling 1.4 million prescriptions per year. 1.4, from 12 to 1.4. Awesome numbers. Largest independent pharmacy chain in the state of Missouri. Had several down in the Branson area. We have some folks here from Branson Entertainers, and I recommend everyone to go down to Branson, Missouri. It's a great tourist area, great place to visit, great place in southwest Missouri. But we were just blessed by growth over growth and hard work. And you know, what I saw was when I didn't have a lot of money in our company, we were very generous. As the Bible would tell you, God's going to give back. He's going to give back a lot more than you give out. And so we practiced that, and we never ran out of business or money. And so one of the things that I always tell people is to read that Bible, practice the Bible. Every situation in life is in that Bible. You can tell it. This is a great book, though, because and we're going to talk about some of the chapters after a while, because this is awesome. This is awesome. It's already easy for you to find, so you find out the situation you have going on in your life right now in your business, and it will have the answer for you out of the Bible. I'm going to kind of start off by saying John Maxwell. A lot of people know who John Maxwell is, and he defines leadership as a leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. Now, there's all kinds of leaders out there, and we're going to discuss that as we go along, that all leaders have certain qualities that always going to be the same. But there's different leaders that are better and more advanced than others, and they're all going to have some different qualities. And I think that's what makes running a business unique. If you didn't have leaders, we wouldn't have businesses. And everybody has their own definition of leadership. So if you ask everybody in this room, we've got about 10 people in this room, and you ask them what leadership meant to them or what they thought it was, you're going to get many different answers. But some of the answers will always be the same. There are qualities that always will be the same. The Bible tells us that it takes faith. It takes faith to run a business. It takes faith to make a decision. It takes faith to do a branch and show like these folks are doing, coupled with hard work. I remember back in 1977, I always dreamed of my own pharmacy. And I know this sounds strange, but when I was in the third grade, think about just a few years ago for me, think about it. Third grade, my teacher said, Miss Keller said, I want you to take a little book home. It was from by the New York Life. It was about occupations. I want you to take this book home. I want you to read it with your parents, and you pick out the profession you want to be when you grow up. What do you want to be when you grow up? People used to ask that question all the time. I had that question all the time. I don't think people ask kids and grandkids as much anymore, but that seemed to be the number one question because a lot of kids had not gone to college. So I'm the first generation to go to college, my brother and I, and many, many people my age, that's what happened. So what do you want to be? Well, I chose in the third grade, and we wrote a little essay. I wrote the essay, I printed it on the Big Chief tablet, and I wrote, I want to be a pharmacist. Well, that's God-led. God-led from the third grade. People would say, well, that's great. Grandparents would say, well, that's great, but don't you want to be a doctor? Don't you want to be a lawyer? Don't you want to be this, do that? And I said, no, I want to be a pharmacist. I want to own my own pharmacy. Well, so that was an interesting thing. Never swayed from what I wanted to do from the third grade to when I graduated from pharmacy school. I knew I wanted to save up enough money to open up my first store, and then do the second and the third and the fourth. People say, well, why did you end up with 26 pharmacies? We never had a number. We never had a number in mind. So that way it just was natural. The expansion was just natural. I kind of learned, though, when I was a kid growing up, I started mowing yards in the third grade. And I owned my own business in the third grade, mowing yards, made up my own little handmade business cards. I had all the yards I could handle. So I had so many yards to mow that I hired 4 other boys to mow yards too. I got all the jobs, and then I collected all the money. At the end of each day, guess what? I made 100% of what I made. I made 50% of what everybody else made, and that's how I learned that by leveraging other people's work and multiple jobs, you could make more money and impact more people. And so that's what I did. So that's kind of the sketch of what my life was all about. And I think it was always about what God had put in my mind, had put in my heart. So just about 15 years ago, I was in a severe car accident. I shouldn't even be here today. The highway patrolman said that he was getting ready to retire. He'd been working as a highway patrol officer, I'll never forget, 26 years. And he was getting ready to retire at the end of the year. And this happened in October. I was coming back from my Kimberling City pharmacy, and I was on Highway 13 between Kimberling City and Springfield, and there's a big curve at Spokane. There's a service station on the left, but there's a big winding curve. And I hit a semi-truck, stopped on the highway, was getting ready to turn left, 13 feet of skid mark, and they had to cut me out of the car. I had a lot of damage to my body, to my heart, different things, and but I survived. And for many years, I would figure out, I pray to God all the time and say, hey, what do you want me to do? Because I know you saved my life. You spared my life. And what I did for a long time was just do a shotgun approach. Do as many kind things as you can for other people. Something's going to fit. Something's going to work. And we just kept doing that. So many years I did that. But that's how God affects everybody. But I know when I first started my business with this hard work, you had to have faith, and then you had to do the hard work. It's not an 8 or 10 hour day when you're a leader and you own your own business. You're many times working 15, 20 hours a day. Unfortunately, sometimes 6 and 7 days a week, so you do that. But there's valuable lessons to be learned in the Bible. Applications to work with employees, how to deal with employees, vendors, customers, all that stuff is in the Bible. You don't have to reinvent it. You can just read the Bible. You can read this good book, and you can figure out how to deal with all those things. I know the employees today is so much different. When I sold my company in 2018, sold all my pharmacies in 2018, it was so much different towards the end of my 42 years than how we could deal with employees at the first. Towards the end, employees today, I think, are really good, the most important asset a business has. On the other hand, though, they're so fragile. I used to be able to talk earnestly and truthfully to an employee about their job performance. And now, if you start trying to tell people today about their job performance, they sometimes just get mad and quit. They just get mad and quit. And so I'm grateful, and because my wife was a nurse and nurse home administrator, I brought her into our business, and she did help us from day one, but she had her own profession to take care of. When I went to Jefferson City for the last 8 years, I brought her on full time to help run the office and corporation while I was gone. But she had to deal with lots of personnel issues and things like that, and so today is much different, and that's why we're talking about the 21st century leadership. You know, the Bible is going to tell us ways that we can, and tells us that Jesus teaches us to love and to serve others. So everything that we do should be about loving and serving other people. That's why I actually like public service. That's why I'm a state rep, and that's why I'm running for another office, county commissioner, because it's not about money. I'm blessed. I don't even have to work. At my age, I'm blessed, and I'm retired, and I don't have to work. But I still want to do the job because I know we can make our county better, we can make our state better, we can make our country better, and so that's what I want to do. I don't like politics. I just like people and serving people. And so I want people to make sure they understand that there's ways to assure prosperity through reading the good book, the Bible, okay? And doing business by the good book, like I said, David Stewart is a great book. Some of the lessons, listen to this, and this is why you're going to want to go get this book. Some of the lessons include topics such as integrity, delegation, striving for excellence, adapting to change. How about right now, today with COVID-19? We're adapting to change. Some better, some not as good, but we're learning. We're learning about this and finding a niche. Right now at this time, when we've got so many things going different than we've ever experienced in our lifetime. 6 months ago, nobody would have ever thought that we could have an unseen virus that would basically stop our lives. And so when we resumed our life, we changed our life. Our life is not the same today. Wear this mask all the time. You have to do all kinds of things differently today. And, you know, one of the things I want to, because it just came to my mind, I want to make sure I don't forget this again. Prayer. Prayer is extremely important for every individual, but it's extremely important for leaders. And good leaders will pray all the time, not just once a day, once a week, once a month, not just when they're having bad times and having a hard time making a decision, but they actually pray all the time. And I really believe that right now during this COVID-19 pandemic, we must be a country of prayer. We must basically get back to God and to make sure that we're asking Him and His Son to re-bless our country, and He can heal. He can actually stop this. We don't know how this is working out, but He has the plan. He always has the plan, and it's always in His time frame, not our time frame. And so that's what's always interesting to me. People sometimes lose faith because it takes too long, but it's never too long for God, and so that's what we have to do. But so we're finding some new businesses right now, finding niches, things that need to be done because of COVID-19 that's really prospering. So while we have some businesses failing, we have other businesses prospering because they find that niche. So that's so important. There's a very interesting chapter on that. Consistency. I just believe that consistency, no matter what we do, whether you're a leader or a leader of your family, you have to be consistent. Inconsistency will be something that will basically doom you and cause you to have failure or have problems. So consistency is good. Teamwork. I think that teamwork is extremely important. Obviously, without a team, I mean, think about it. I had this dream. God gave me this dream. He gave me the opportunity to open up my first store. But if I hadn't had the best pharmacists and the best employees, couldn't have done it. At the height of our business, I owned pharmacies. I owned a frozen custard and sandwich shop. We had 242 employees. We provided 242 jobs every week, every year, and that's what we did for years. And if you don't have good teamwork, you're not going to make it, okay? So a great chapter on teamwork. Risk-taking. The reason why some people succeed and others never even make it, some don't try. They're just not going to be risk takers, okay? And there's nothing wrong with being risk takers if you pray about it and you do it in the right ways and you study and evaluate your situations, then it's okay to be a risk taker. But you need to know all your options and things like that. So you have to do it smart. You don't want to do it unprepared. So there's a great chapter about risk taking. Customer service. You know, what I've seen over the years of owning businesses is everybody talks about customer service. Every business talks about it, but very few businesses deliver. We wanted to make sure our company, Family Pharmacy, we wanted to make sure that our company did customer service. We lived customer service. In fact, to myself, it was the most important thing I did. Besides making sure I filled that prescription accurately, correctly, and got it to the right person, the next most important thing we could ever do in business was customer service. We could outserve every business, every big pharmacy chain, everybody, we could outserve them. And our employees believed that too. They bought into the fact that customer service was the division between Family Pharmacy and our competition. And so that's why we were so successful. That's why we had so many customers. That's why we filled 1.4 million scripts a year, because of our customer service, our personal knowledge of each individual, having personal relationships with our customers was extremely important. Long-term thinking. To be a successful leader in the 21st century, you cannot be a short-term thinker. You've got to have short-term goals, mid-range goals, long-term goals. You've got to have it all. It's got to always be moving. It can't be static. It can't stop. It's got to always be moving. That goal of yours will always change. It'll always be positive. It's going to be dynamic. It's going to keep moving. And you do that and you have a much greater success rate. Thinking the big picture. Thinking the big picture. What's that? You know, some people can see little things, but they can't see the big picture. They can't see the big thing, that the ultimate end goal is what we're going to try to get to. And then how do we get there? How do we keep it there? How do we keep advancing? That's the big picture. The art of listening. I mean, I learned that more in the last 8 years as a state rep, and I thought I knew it when I was running my company. But you know, there's a reason why God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. The art of listening, and not just hearing somebody, but actually understanding what somebody says is extremely important. So that's what I do back in my district. That's what I do up in Jefferson City, is make sure that when people come to see me, and I have constituents every day, we get about 50 emails a day, even when we're out of session. I have a lot of people that contact me. They contact me 3 ways: email, letter, phone call. Can you kind of guess? People like me send letters. People, younger people, send emails. Middle-aged groups send phone calls, do phone calls. And we communicate the same way in my office. We communicate the same way. If you email me, I email you back. You send me a letter, I'm going to write you a letter back. You phone call, I'm going to phone call you back. We communicate the way you choose to communicate, and we listen. We actually listen to what your concern is, and then we try to answer those concerns. So listening is an extremely important part of leadership, okay? Accent the positive. Accent the positive. If you're a negative thinker, you're never going to make it, okay? You're never going to make it. You've got to have a positive outlook, a positive personality. You have got to always be positive. That's not meaning that everything's going to be great every day. No. Things aren't great every day. However, if you have a positive attitude, a positive outlook, you will overcome any obstacles that you have, okay? And there's a great chapter in there about accenting the positive. The joy of work. The joy of work is important because if you don't like work, you're not going to succeed. If you don't like the job you're doing, you're not going to succeed. If you don't want to be a leader, you're not going to be a good leader, okay? And you have to enjoy your job. If you look forward to it every day and you can't wait to get to work, you're going to be successful. If you dread going to work and you make excuses and you call in all the time, you will be a failure. And so you've got to have joy of work. Networking is something that's very, very important today. It's been that way for several years now, and I don't know who created networking, but when you work with like-minded people and you meet like-minded people, they have ideas that you don't have. You can share ideas. You can share the issues that are troubling you. You can share their solutions and all that stuff. The more networking a person does today will make you a great leader. And so extremely important. There's a great chapter on networking in there. Being flexible. You can't be so rigid that you can't listen to other people and be flexible. You can have your goal and you can kind of go back and forth, but you got to be flexible. If you're so rigid that you can't modify one thought, one idea, you're not going to be very successful. Adversity. Think about right now going on. Lots of businesses closed. Lots of businesses now starting to reopen. I told the governor, this is the way I feel. I don't think this state of Missouri will ever close businesses again. We can't afford to. There's two things that we have to look out for. We have to look out for our public health. It's extremely important to keep people safe and healthy. But at the same time, we can't afford to close businesses down again. Can't. We've cut $2 billion right now in our budget, $2 billion. You know how we cut it? We hurt education, we hurt seniors, we hurt social services. We have cut things that we never dreamed of cutting, okay? So when you don't have the money coming in, you're going to cut. Missouri's a balanced budget state because of our Constitution, and that's a good thing. We don't borrow money. So unfortunately, though, now we're seeing the perils of cutting down business. I told the governor personally one day that I truly believe, and I think everyone in this room believes, that God created everything. And if God created everything, then everything was essential. He would not have created anything that wasn't essential. So it gets to me when my friends that own businesses got put out of business because they weren't essential. We can never make a list that separates essential and non-essential in Missouri. Again, I told the governor that. He agrees with me. We're not going to close Missouri down again. We're going to stay open, and we're going to somehow find a balance in the middle to keep people safe and our economy healthy. Together, that will provide life. One or the other, if you only have one, you're not going to have life. So that's good. Adversity, there's a great chapter in the Bible about adversity, many verses, and he quotes all these different verses. A supportive spouse. I want to tell you, I'm getting ready to have our 38th wedding anniversary in just about 3 weeks. And so a supportive spouse is extremely important. Same way with politics. My wife is a very personal, very smart lady. Women are very smart. And my wife is not only my best friend, she's my best consultant. And she hates politics. A lot of people hate politics. Hey, I don't even like politics. She is so private that she really only puts up with me running for office because she loves me. She hates politics. And you've got to have a spouse. If you're in business and you're a leader of any type, You have got to have a supportive spouse. You've got to support them. They've got to support you. Without it, your business is going to fail. Then I think this is important. There's a chapter in this. You need to let go because you have faith and you believe in prayer and you believe in God. You got to let go and let God do the thing. Let him do his thing. If you have enough faith, God will carry your leadership abilities. He'll carry your business. He'll carry your life. And I think that's really important. I think also recognition is important, especially the positive recognition. I think all of us in this room, I've seen business leaders before that actually are terrible business leaders and terrible bosses, and they actually will get onto someone in front of everybody else. You've seen that. It's a horrible feeling, not just for the person that's being attacked, but it's also a horrible feeling for everybody else in that room. You never do that. Now, on the other hand, if you want to say something positive about an employee, you can always say that in front of a group as well as individually call them into the office and pay praise. But you've got to make sure that positive praise is given to individuals and to the group, and negative is always done individually. But I've seen some leaders that didn't understand that. Good leaders find a balance between business and foresight, performance, and character. There's things there: business, foresight, performance, and character. They find a balance. If your life is out of balance, and you can be the best leader in the world, and you are leading your company, but when you go home at night and you're out of balance, and you're not in tune to your kids and your wife, to your spouse, you're going to fail. You're going to fail. You're not going to be happy. You're not going to be successful. Now I want to talk about courage a little bit. Courage is rightly considered the foremost of the virtues of a good leader. Courage. For upon it all others depend. So think about that. All others qualities depend on courage. That was Winston Churchill. I thought that was interesting, a statement that he had made, a quote. And then integrity. With integrity, you have nothing to fear. You have nothing to fear when you have nothing to hide. That's integrity. And with integrity, you'll do the right thing so you will never have guilt. Zig Ziglar said that. And we all know that's exactly true. If you're telling the truth, you can say it every day for the next year, and you'll say it the same way every day. If you're not telling the truth, you will start stumbling and say it differently on different days. You always will be the same way if you're telling the truth. So integrity, basically, if you don't have integrity, that's basically the name, your name, your name, Lynn Morris, and then integrity is part of your name. If you don't have that, then you don't have a good character, a good name. Leadership is the ability to get people to work for you, and I think I was able to do this. God gave me those talents, and you do develop them, but he gave me the ability to get people to work for me because they wanted to. Most people have to work because they have bills to pay. They have expenses. That's just our life, okay? And we're the greatest country in the world to be able to provide those jobs and to have that system. But there are some people that have jobs that they work because they don't really like their boss, they really don't like their job, but they have to pay their bills. I think the mark of a good leader is people that get other people to buy into what they're doing and then be the best they can be where they propel that business forward. Great leaders lead by example. People are watching you all the time. That's what I said about role models. Employees are watching you all the time. And so you lead by example, and they will have, if you have a positive attitude, they will have a positive attitude. I'll give you some examples of that. I would never, in my 42 years of owning my pharmacy group, would never ask an employee to do something that I wouldn't do myself. So, for example, I'm kind of a neat nut, and I don't like trash out in the parking lot. I don't like trash out in our yard, because we had a beautiful landscaped corporate yard. And so every day when I would pull into the parking lot, I would pick up trash. If there was any trash, I would pick it up between my car and the office. And if I didn't think the carpet was vacuumed well enough at the corporate office, I would actually get the vacuum sweeper out and sweep the vacuum, sweep the carpet. Did that as president of the company. You know what happens is when you do that, someone will run and tap you in the shoulder and say, hey, I'll finish this up. I'll do it. You know, they see you do it, they'll do it. If I just ask all the time or told someone to do something, it's not as good. So you lead by example, and you'll get positive attitudes back, okay? The best leaders take responsibility. Not everything's always going to work. There are times when you have plans that they don't work. That's why good leaders have a plan A, plan B, plan C. They know exactly what to do. But they don't abandon their plan right away. I tell people, you know, if we're going to start something new, it's not going to start in 2 weeks and then we're only going to do it 2 weeks and we give up. You have to be persistent and consistent and give it time to make sure it is going to work. But you have to know when to pull the plug too and go to the next project. Great leaders stay focused. It's almost like a laser beam focus. You know, you see sometimes these laser beams that they can either put on a blackboard, or unfortunately now we got crazy people out there shooting lasers up to airplanes and trying, I don't know why they would even do that, but we had one just recently in the Springfield area and affected an airplane in Springfield. Thank goodness it landed okay. But you know, it's that laser beam, that strong laser beam focus is what's required to make sure that we make it through the 21st century. I think great leaders are people who help other people reach their goals. So if you can bring people on and you help them, you help promote them, and you help them grow, that's the mark of a great leader. I've had people in my management team who were tremendously smart people in the pharmacy business, but they weren't good people persons, and sometimes they cared more about themselves, unfortunately, than they did all the employees. That's not a good leader, okay? And you got to be not afraid, and this is what I always did it. I tried to hire people that was smarter than me. I had almost 60 pharmacists working for me, along with all my other employees, and I tried to find smarter people than me, okay? Smarter people, more talented people. That's how it makes your company. If all you had was yourself, no matter how smart you are, you're never going to get to the point you want to be. You bring all these other people around you, and they make the team. You want to take pride. Leaders take great pride in the accomplishments of others besides themselves, okay? That way you're leading the way. And leaders aren't afraid to fail. You know, like I say, I've not had every answer in the 42 years I ran my business, that I knew everything, that we didn't have some ideas that just didn't ever work. And so you can't be afraid to fail. You can learn from losing. You know, I played college tennis, college basketball. I used to box at the boys club in Springfield, and I never lost a fight. I fought for several years, and I loved boxing. But you know, I lost tennis matches. I lost basketball games. I lost other sporting events. Sports are great lessons that you can learn from sports on winning and losing. And if you don't like to lose, you'll learn better where you don't want to lose and you want to win, and that's how you learn. But you learn, why did you lose? Why did you lose? And then you try to make sure you don't repeat that the next time. So sports are good. Don't be afraid to fail. Great leaders should inspire others, and I believe ideally the greatest leader, and I really haven't talked about this, but obviously I've gone all around the circle, leaders should be a strong Christian person. I'm sure out there somewhere there's leaders that aren't Christians. But I bet you most of the good leaders, the great leaders, are strong Christians. And because of that, your employees will have a better chance to be a Christian too. So that is an extremely important quality. According to Forbes magazine, that's one of the magazines I read, the top 5 characteristics, and we're kind of summing this up, was of a great leader is clarity. They have a clear vision, clear, concise vision. Decisiveness, we talked about that. You make up your mind, then you commit, and then you put all hands on deck. That's how we did at our company. We had a small management team. We would come up with the idea, then we would commit, and then we would get all hands on deck. And that's one of the things. Courage, passion, humility make up the other 5. Obviously, those are important. I want to just say a plug before we run out of time about Boy Scouts. I grew up as a Boy Scout. I'm an Eagle Scout. 85% of all the astronauts were Eagle Scouts. Over 85% of all the university presidents, college presidents of college, the student body, were Eagle Scouts, and on and on and on. And when you look at the learning and training that you get as an Eagle Scout, several. We got a Supreme Court judge in Missouri that's an Eagle Scout. We've got leaders of many state departments. Dr. Randall Williams, Director of Health and Senior Services, Eagle Scout. Director of Social Services, Eagle Scout. On and on and on. So tremendous training. They have 12 principles that make up the Scout Law, and I think that's worthy to kind of stop towards the end of this discussion. Trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, kind, courteous, obedient, brave, clean, cheerful, thrifty, and reverent. Think about those 12 qualities. Wouldn't you like to have every family member be that? Every employee be that way? Trustworthy, loyal, cheerful, thrifty, reverent. All those things. So, in kind of ending, and we're going to see if there's any questions out there, but I think some people are actually born leaders, and I think that's through God and through the DNA and everything that creates us. I think there's other leaders that can be made, self-made through God. I think that we all progress. Hopefully we get better as leaders as we go along, that we don't actually degress. And so there's different types of leaders and different types of organizations and businesses. So I think that it's one of the most important things. If we didn't have good leaders, we wouldn't have any type of business today. And if we didn't have people that had the faith and the courage to open up a business, we wouldn't have that either. So just like the people here from Branson that has a show, they've got a tremendous investment risk in making a show for the rest of us to go down. My wife was in Branson yesterday and took 2 of our granddaughters. We had a granddaughter that had a birthday, and they went to the Butterfly Palace, and in that Butterfly Palace they not only saw the butterflies, and they went into a rainforest area, and then they went into another area they were talking to me about and different things. And we've got friends with the Presleys and the Baldnaubers and all kinds of people down there that trade at we had pharmacies that are all around the lake, 5 Table Rock Lake pharmacies, family pharmacies, all the way from Forsyth to Branson 248 by the landing. We had stores in Branson West, Kimberling City. We had stores on 248. A lot of the entertainers bought their medicines from us and things like that. So we've got all types of leaders. We need to all strive to be a good leader in our own life. It will always change. It doesn't stay the same. So all the new technologies and theories out there, the Bible will never change. The foundation will never change. But how we go about it will change because people change. So society changes. COVID-19, we're going to have COVID-20 someday too. I would just say that a good leader will be someone that would take a challenge, and I'd say right now we have a lot of challenges. I would say a good leader is going to take those challenges and turn them into opportunities. That's what I try to do. Every challenge I see, I look and see if I can divide it into where I can make a opportunity. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think we are in a time where our country is going to see business challenges. We're seeing that right now. And also health challenges. And that's why I'm proud to be a pharmacist with a master's degree in healthcare administration, run Columbia HCA Hospital for 3.5 years as chief operating officer at Columbia HCA. I did phase 3 and phase 4 drug studies as a pharmacist consultant for Biokinetics. So I know about how to get these vaccines on the market. I know what it takes to get a drug approved by the FDA. I've taught college courses, pharmacology and business courses. I'm writing a book, so I've got just a few minutes to plug it. Everyone needs to go buy my book next year. So this book is unique. This is unique, and we're going to sell 1 million+ copies. Not because I'm trying to make any money, but I want the people in the state of Missouri, 6.2 million people in the state of Missouri, to know the good, the bad, and the ugly of Missouri state government. I have seen so much waste up there in Jefferson City. Like I said, I'm not very political. I'm a conservative, Republican, Christian. But I have a lot of friends that are liberal, and they're good people too. We just don't see eye to eye on everything. But I will tell you, there's a lot of waste. So we don't need more taxes because we waste too much money. And I'm going to write this book where it holds all office holders accountable. And if you want to know how to make Missouri better, you'll need to buy this book. It should be out a little bit after Thanksgiving next year. It's going to make a great Christmas present. There's a lot of legislators that are going to want to buy the book because they want to see if their name's in it. And my own party is saying, well, are you going to say something bad about our party? You're going to say something bad about me? Yes, sir. We are going to talk the truth about what we could do to make Missouri better. Again, everything about my life is God-led. For some reason, I could not sleep that first day in 2012 when I was sworn in that day. So I went home that night, back to the hotel, and I couldn't sleep. And so I got mad after about 30 minutes. You know how it is sometimes. Your just mind is going. And so I threw off the covers. I sit over there on the desk, and I just sit there. I was trying, well, what am I going to do? I thought, oh, no, I'll write down everything that happened today. What I saw today, what I heard today, I wrote it down. 8 years I've done that, 3,000+ pages of notes, pictures, and everything else. Not knowing for the first 3 or 4 years I was going to write a book. But after I got to a certain point, I decided, I got to share this with people. I saw great things that the public did, came in and did, lobbyists did, everybody did these great things. But I also saw some really bad things. So we got to do that. One question, does anybody have a question? Yeah.
How'd you maintain such a soft heart with all your hard work and challenges?
Well, I think you have to have thick skin. And your heart does need to be soft. I mean, you have to love people. You have to love the Lord. You have to trust people, even when they let you down. I don't penalize people. I don't penalize people for that. So I think it's a calling. I think that I understand when people are mad. Like right now, I'm going door to door, and it's extremely hot out there, okay? And I can understand, but they don't want to talk to you. So it's okay. But I'm going to give you the book for asking the question. But anyway, I appreciate everyone today. If you want to get a hold of me, contact me, Lynn, L-Y-N-N, Morris, M-O-R-R-I-S, 2012 @gmail.com. Thank you very much.